Hello, my name is Meiju. Welcome to watch this tutorial on this top that I call Vellum top. This is still unblocked here, so the edges slightly turn inwards and I have yarns here and there, but we have knit this top from the top down. So I'm gonna turn the top this way up as we need to think about the construction of the top this way. So the tutorial is mainly about the construction of this top. So we are first knitting the left front piece, which is on your left when you are wearing the top. Then we are going to knit the right front, and we are going to knit everything using the same long circular needle. And I'm going to demonstrate how you can keep everything on the same needle when you are working the top. And then I'm going to turn the top backwards facing here. So next, after we have worked left and right front and joined them together and worked them to the armhole length, we are going to work the back to the same length and then join the top to work it as a one piece to the end. So let's begin. So I have reached the point in knitting where I have my left front in a position where I next need to do right front for the same length. So I could put these stitches to wait on a holder, but I don't want to do that, mainly because for me it's more convenient that I have everything on the same needle, as I need to join these pieces, left and right front, together to continue with the front and later with the back. So as this is my left front, I need to get my right front on this side. So I'm knitting from the top down. This is my left front. It's on my left side when the garment is finished. So for this, since I am using hand-dyed yarn and I want to alternate the skeins, I'm using another skein for the right front, and then I start to alternate the skeins when I join these pieces together. So I need to cast on the stitches to this end of the needle. So I'm starting to cast on here, and I need to only cast on 12 stitches. So I'm using making a slip knot. So now when casting on, I have the wrong side of the left front on my right side of my knitting. Okay, checking the number. Yes, I have 12 stitches here. So when I'm pulling out the other needle, it depends what you have next. I have purl side row next in the pattern. So I need to pull out the needle on which my left front stitches are on. Basically it's the same needle as I have a circular needle here, but it's the one that you have left side stitches on. So now I'm working the right front next. So I'm pulling out the needle from here. I'm working the purl side row next. And that's all purl stitches. Now, when I'm looking at the piece now, I have both fronts are now wrong side facing me. When I turn to work, I have my left front stitches here and right front stitches on my right. So now I'm just continue reading the pattern and I'm knitting the right front to the same length, and I'm coming to show you what happens next. Okay, I have now the left and right front on the same needle. So I have just knit the right front while the left front were waiting on this end of the needle. So I have just knit always to this needle, then turn the work, knit the stitches, the wrong side stitches, then again. So then again the stitches are on this end of the needle. I'm turning the work and I have my right side row starting. Now I'm joining the pieces together as the pattern says. So I'm knitting these stitches and then joining the piece, the right front piece to the left front piece, and I'm going to show you a little trick how to do that. So I'm knitting, working as the pattern says. I'm increasing here, then continuing to the end of the right front piece. I'm knitting to one stitch before the end of the right front. Then I'm just crossing the first stitch of the left front with the last stitch of the right front. So I'm bringing the left front stitch over the right front stitch. It can be done also the other way around. I'm knitting this stitch. It will stretch out a little bit as it is the first stitch of the left front. I'm pulling the yarn, the left front yarn, so that it will the stitch will go smaller. Then I'm just knitting with the right front yarn the first stitch of the left front. So stitches are just crossed, so they will there will be no gap between the stitches. Then I'm continuing the left front with the right front working yarn. I will soon going to show you how to alternate the skeins invisibly when working in the round. So I just leave the yarn here for now. Then I'm continuing to the end of the left front, as the pattern says. And I'm also increasing here 2 stitches before end, as the pattern says. Now the front pieces are joined, so I can continue flat knitting the both pieces together. So I'm just turning my work and continuing with the yarn that I have here. So now I'm at the point where is the lowest point of the v-neck, and we have the other skein here waiting, as I use 2 skeins now. I have worked with another yarn, the one that I have here. I'm going to leave it here still while I'm working past it, and then I'm going to alternate it on the next round, next row. And we need to alternate, as we are working flat, we need to alternate it here a while, in a way that it might be visible if you are not experienced knitter. So you can also cut the yarn here at this point and only alternate when you have the yarns, for example on underarm, where the point of alternating is not that visible. But when we are alternating skeins in the round, it can be done very invisibly, which I'm going to show you later. At this point I'm just continuing with the same yarn that I'm working here, and on the next row I'm going to switch the other yarn at this point. Now I have worked the right side to the point where the other yarn waits. So in this case I just want to switch to this yarn, as I want to alternate skeins. But you can shift the point on each row a bit to the left, just to make sure that the point isn't too visible, in a way that it would happen always on the same spot. So I'm just switching yarns. I had this yarn as my working yarn. I'm bringing this one from over the other yarn, and then I'm just continuing with that yarn and making sure the tension is correct here, so the switching point isn't too visible, like that. Then I'm just continuing with the pattern. Okay, now I have reached the point in my knitting where I have the front piece finished and I need to start the back piece. And for the back piece I need to pick up and knit stitches from the left front strap as well as from the right front strap and cast on stitches for the back neck. So let's see how it goes. Okay, we are placing the fronts in front of you, right side facing as I have here, and I have the live stitches on the needle waiting and pointing towards me, so this way, and then I have the edges where I need to pick up stitches pointing outwards from me, and I'm starting to pick up first stitches from the right side starting from the left front. And at this point you could leave these stitches to wait on a holder, but I want to keep everything on the same needle so I don't have to fiddle with the holder and moving the stitches backward and forward as it is possible in this design. So I'm just starting to pick up stitches with this needle that I have coming out of here, and I start to pick up here. But first, as I have had two balls of yarn attached to my work and I have been altering the skeins, I need to cut the other yarn since I only have two balls of yarn for this project. So I'm cutting this yarn, and why this yarn? Since it's in the middle of the row and the other yarn is at the end of the wrong side row in the beginning of the right side row, so I can continue later with this yarn when I'm joining the pieces together, but it isn't possible with this yarn as it's in the middle of the row. So I'm cutting this yarn, turning my work again this way, and then I'm joining this yarn and picking up those stitches from this edge. So I have my left front piece, and now as we look at this, this is the left front as it's the left front in your work when you are wearing it, and this is the right front. Now the left front is on your right and the right front is on your left, and first we pick from the left front, which is on your right in this case. So I will pick up a stitch by stitch, 12 stitches in my size from here, and checking out the stitches, 11 and the 12th, right, like that. And then we need to cast on the number of stitches stated in the pattern for the back neck. You could use backwards loop cast on, but it isn't my favorite as it's that loose. But if you want to do backwards loop cast on, it's possible, and it happens in a way that you make a loop, that you twist in a way that the yarn comes between the loop and the work like this. And then you repeat this. This is the backwards loop cast on. It is possible to do it like this and then just continue picking up stitches here, but I don't want to use that cast on here. It's only a matter of preference, but I like to do knit cast on, and for the knit cast on I need to turn my work wrong side facing, as I need to cast on stitches to this end of the needle, and I'm knitting into the stitch and placing the loop on the needle. Tight it up. Knit to the stitch, place the loop on the needle. Knit to the stitch, place the stitch on the needle. Knit to the stitch, place the loop on the needle. Knit, place the stitch, loop on the needle. And this is how you continue until you have the number of stitches stated in the pattern. I will come back after I have cast on these stitches. Okay, now I have the number of stitches needed for the back neck for this project. It looks like a small number, but it will wider out when continuing with the project. Then I just continue picking up and knitting the stitches from the right front edge. So I'm just putting the needle from the edge and picking up the yarn, knitting the stitch. And this is how I continue until I have picked up the stitches needed in your size or in my size. Just checking out the number. Yes, now I have enough stitches here. Then my work looks like this. So I have fronts here, stitches on the back here. I'm just turning my work and continuing the wrong side of the back piece like this, purling the wrong side. The first row is slightly difficult as the stitches won't flow that easily on the needle, but it will get easier after a few rows. Then we are working the back to the desired length given in the pattern, and now I have worked the stitches, number of stitches that I have picked here. So as you can see, the yarn between the stitches is slightly longer than usually, but when you work the stitch it will get better, and when you come next time to the stitch it will even out. And when you finally pick up stitches for the neck edging, everything will smooth out. Okay, now I have proceeded in my work in a way that I have the back piece here and the front piece here. They are on the same needle, but they are still separate from each other. But now I need to join these together to work in the round. Okay, so I'm gonna continue with the yarn from the back piece. So I'm going to knit all the back stitches, and I'm coming back to show you what happens next after I have worked all the back stitches. Okay, now I'm at the end of the back piece. So I'm next going to cast on stitches under arm, new stitches that will make my body circumference wider. So I'm using the yarn from the back piece that I have, and I'm going to turn my work, and again using this time cable cast on. So cable cast on is almost the same as the knit cast on, but I'm inserting the needle between the first and the second stitch. I'm wrapping the yarn around the needle and knitting it through the stitch, placing the stitch on the needle. The repeat is the same. Insert the needle between the first and the second stitch, right under the needle. I'm sorry about the bad light. And then pull it from the through and place it on the needle. And I'm repeating this the number of times that the pattern says for your size. And I'm coming back soon to tell you what happens next. Okay, now I have cast on the number of stitches that pattern says, and we are going to do the next, the joining these pieces together. So I'm turning my work again, right side facing, and this time just making sure that I have my yarn in the correct position. This time I'm going to do the same as we did for the V-neck in the front. So I'm going to cross the first stitch of the front with the last stitch that I just cast on. So I'm just crossing the stitches, and then I'm using the working yarn from the back. So I have the stitches crossed like this. I'm keeping the stitch from the back piece under my thumb here, and I'm knitting the stitch with the working yarn. Now I have two working yarns, as I had the front yarn waiting there, and then I'm using the same yarn to knit the next stitch. So no decreases here, the stitches were just crossed, and I'm continuing with the yarn that I have. Then on the next round I'm starting to alternate the skeins here. Then I'm going to knit the front stitches, and I'm doing the same for the other underarm. So I'm going to cast on stitches underarm, the same number as I did here, and I'm going to cross the stitches. You should also put a marker to indicate the beginning of a round, as the pattern says. I will do show you the other underarm too in a minute. Okay, now the other underarm. I'm turning my work, working the cable cast on. Like that. Then I'm turning my work, and again, now I need a marker. Okay, then I'm placing a marker. You can either place it here, right between those stitches, but for more convenient crossing stitches, I'm placing it in the middle of those stitches that I just cast on, to the center of those stitches. And now, as I did with the back, I'm crossing my first stitch of the back piece with the last stitch from the front piece. I'm bringing the last stitch of the front to the left hand needle, then I'm bringing the back stitch over, knitting it, and then knitting the next stitch. I have my beginning of a round marker under my left arm, as we have the piece like this. Now this is the front, and while we are wearing, it's under the left arm. Okay, I have now knit this piece for a while. So I have my front here, underarm joined at the underarm, back here, and I'm knitting from the top down and alternating two skeins. I have two skeins attached in my work, so I'm now currently working with this yarn, and I have another yarn here waiting, and I'm going to show you a jogless method of alternating skeins when knitting in the round. So when I'm approaching the point where the other skein or working yarn is waiting, I'm going to stop 3 stitches before the other yarn. So if you go past those 3 stitches, which is always possible, you will notice when you knit this stitch as it grows much more as the rest of the stitches, as the yarn is hanging there. So then I will go back, unraveling those stitches. I have 3 stitches before, or 2 stitches before the stitch where the yarn is waiting. I'm going to leave this working yarn that I'm using now here. I'm going to slip 3 stitches from the left needle to my right hand needle, and then I'm just leaving the yarn here and I'm continuing with the other yarn. And I'm doing this every time when I'm 3 stitches before the end. To alternate technique is very seamless. You don't see anything while I have been alternating, starting from the underarm here where the yarn was waiting, and only thing that happens is that the shift of the yarn always switches 3 stitches to the right, which doesn't matter as you have a large piece of a sweater and you are working in the round in stockinette stitch. If you would do some stitch pattern, that would be a different case, but in this case, while we are only doing stockinette stitch, you can use this technique. And whenever next time you come, you will leave the yarn here, slip those 3 stitches from left hand needle to right hand needle, and then continue with this yarn. Okay, now I have finished the armholes with the garter stitch edging. I'm going to make a similar garter stitch for the V-neck, and I'm using a smaller needle than that I used for the body of the sweater, and I'm starting to pick up stitches from the right shoulder, as I want the end of the round to be placed here, not in the center front. In this design, this is the most convenient place for the beginning and end of the round. And I'm picking up 1 stitch from each stitch at the back neck. So I'm inserting the needle to the edge of the back neck and pulling the yarn through as if to knit. Then I'm continuing to the next stitch, pulling the yarn through to the next, and continuing like this until I have picked up the number of stitches given for your size or my size in the pattern. I'm going to continue like this. As the pattern says, I have given the number for the back neck and for the V-neck edge and for the V-neck edge here, and the total number of picked up stitches. The total number isn't important here. However, we want to keep the tension correct so that we don't get too tight neckline or too loose neckline. So we will continue like this, and we will place a marker in the center of the V-neck. I will come back when I'm there. Okay, now I'm getting closer to the center front. So I'm making sure that I'm picking up the last stitch from the left front side of the sweater from the center, left front center point of the center, like that. Then I'm placing a marker there. And I'm going to also pick up from the next stitch from the other side of the center point, like that. So now I have a marker in the center of the V-neck and stitches on the both sides. I'm continuing picking up stitches for this side of the V-neck too. Like that. Okay, now I have picked up all the stitches from the edge of the neckline and I'm starting the first round, and it will be a purl round. I'm tightening slightly the yarns and purling the first round. And you should also purl over this center marker here. And on the next round, after the purl round, we will start decreasing here at the center of the V-neck. So first a purl round, then decreases. I will come back when I'm there. Okay, now I'm starting another round. I'm at the beginning of a round on the right front shoulder. I'm gonna pull my needle to be able to work with it, and the next round will be a knit round and a decrease round on the center front. So here we go. I'm knitting. The next round after the purl round, and I will come back in the center front to show you the decreases. Now I'm getting closer to the center front. I will knit to the 2 stitches before the center marker, and I will do knit 2 together decrease. So knit 2 together, then I'm slipping the marker and we'll do slip, slip, knit, decrease. So let's do it again. I will slip the first stitch as if to knit. I will slip the next stitch as if to knit. Slip them back to the left hand needle and knit through the back loop. Then knit to the beginning of a round marker. The next round will be a purl round again, so that we will get a quarter stitch here at the neckline. I'm pulling my needles again so I can continue. Next purl round, but on this round we will also make the decreases at the center front, so I will come back to show you how they are made when I get there. Okay, now I have reached 2 stitches before the center V-neck center marker on my purl round. I will do the same decreases as I did on the knit round. So I will do knit 2 together and slip, slip, knit, like that. Then purling to the end. And after that we will start the bind off round, and I will tell you a few tips about the bind off when we get there. Okay, now we start the bind off round. I will remove the marker from the beginning of the round as I don't need it anymore. We will make a normal knit bind off. I will knit the first 2 stitches, then slip the last one over the first one and repeat. Knit 1, slip over, knit 1, slip over. And about the bind off, we don't want it to be too loose, as it will flare with this garter stitch edge, but we don't want it to be too tight either. So I recommend that you learn a bind off that is just that have just correct tension for this design. So if you need to unravel the bind off, don't hesitate to do that. You might need 1 or 2 tries to get a perfect bind off that is not too stretchy but not too tight and keeps the neckline nice and tight.